shocked at anything, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't more shocked of him dying. I was more shocked.
We've looked at running for president in the past. There's a lot of potential 2016 candidates here. Any chance that you'll look at that again?
Well, it's so early. And you know, when I announced that I wasn't going to run, I was leading in the polls. In fact, it was sort of interesting. I was watching Meet the Press on Sunday. And NBC was calling, please, please do The Apprentice, please do The Apprentice, and all of this. And I'm watching, and I'm looking at the numbers, and they just came out with a poll where I was leading in the thing. And then on Monday, we did the big upfronts, and we announced. And I decided I would back Mitt Romney, and obviously, you know, the result of the whole situation is now history. But, and I have a little bit of a regret, I must say, because I really felt it was an election that we should have won. That was definitely an election that we should have won. I think it was an amazing opportunity, and for some reason, the Republicans, and Mitt, you know, he understands it. He didn't, they didn't resonate. He's a fine man, he's a good man, but unfortunately, it just didn't resonate. That was an election that should have been won. But I was actually leading in the polls. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's a long way to go. Yes, sir.
Alex Trowbridge, Politico. Was Mitt Romney the right candidate for 2012?
Well, look, I like him very much. Was he the right candidate? Obviously, you know, perhaps we could have done better, right? You can't do worse. Whether you lose by 1 vote, or you lose by 3%, or you lose by 20%, we lost. The Republicans lost. So perhaps somebody else could have done better. And that's, no, he worked very hard. He's a very fine man, but obviously the end result is that it didn't quite work out. Yes, go ahead.
I'm just a localist with the Norwegian business day there.
Norway.
You spoke a lot about immigration in here, and you said that 11 million illegals would probably not be winnable for the party. But why is that?
We can't take Norwegians in this country. It's impossible. We don't discuss Norwegians or anybody from Europe coming into this country. You know, it's amazing. We have 11 million people here. There's going to be some form of citizenship for those 11 million people. If you come in from his country, Norway, you get a card, you have to leave by a certain date. They leave the day before because they don't want to violate any laws. Think of it. They'll never get into this country. Pretty sad situation. But if you come from Europe, you don't get to come into this country. Somebody ought to look into that.
Okay, you went with socially conservative.
Well, I think a lot of the people, I mean, I mentioned that, and everybody started clapping in the room. So, you know, it's a point I never even heard mentioned. Nobody even talks about it. But you have 11 million people that aren't leaving. They're going to become citizens in some form, probably. The Republicans better be very careful. But if you come from Europe, it doesn't work that way. And so somebody's going to have to look at that. The other thing I said, and I felt it was very strong, is that we educate people from other countries, and then we force them to leave because we won't make them citizens. So somebody goes to the Wharton School of Finance for 4 years, becomes a great student, really a genius at business, or goes to another school, MIT or Harvard, and become a genius at what they're ever, and then we say, get out of the country, you can't come in. How stupid is this? I mean, it's incredible to me. And then they go and kick our ass because now they're working for the other side. And it's really, really a shame. Okay, yes, sir.
Jeffrey Shapiro with the Washington Times opinion page. Mr. Trump, as you once said, you were able to do something that no one else was able to do, like compelling the president to finally release his long-term birth certificate. I found out from sources of mine at the Federal Election Commission, not only are they not compelled to ask for one, under the law, even though the Constitution requires it, they're not allowed to ask for it. One, do you believe that this is a loophole that should finally be closed? And two, how does it make you feel that you were the only person that was able to compel the president to release this, and the American people couldn't do anything about it in the courts?
Well, I appreciate the tone of the question, honestly, because I did get him to release whatever it was he released. And so I appreciate the question. Unfortunately, the press really defended him and really stuck up. And, you know, it's sort of interesting because I offered $5 million to just, let me see a document, one document, $5 million to charity. And the press said, oh, what a terrible thing. What people don't know, I actually increased that offer by 10 times. I made it $50 million at the end. $50 million, and the press didn't want to report it. I waited till the very end, perhaps in the hopes that he wouldn't do it, because $50 million is getting to be a lot of money, right? But the fact is that I actually did increase it tenfold, and amazingly, he was defended on that. But that's okay, because I'm really about now the economy, jobs. It's an amazing issue. It's an issue that you just mentioned, that 47% of the people feel there's something wrong. And the sad part is it's an issue that the president could have really cleared up, and a lot of people would have been very happy about it. But I am really on to jobs, the economy, because this country is being beaten so badly by other countries that it's really a shame, really a shame. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Rosie Gray from BuzzFeed. Who would you like to support for president in 2016?
Well, it's very early. It's so early, but you have a lot of good candidates. But it's very, very early. And, you know, somebody will probably emerge who nobody was even thinking of. Maybe when Obama ran, before he ran, nobody even knew who he was. All of a sudden he emerged. People thought Hillary was going to get it or somebody else, and Obama gets it. So you may very well not know the person that's going to end up getting it. I will tell you, I actually think it's going to be a tougher race in 2016 because I think that President Obama was eminently beatable. I really felt that that was a race that the Republicans should have had. That was a race that is a tremendous negative to the Republican Party that they lost to. I mean, we had bad economy, high unemployment. You know, if you look at the employment situation, it's never happened before to have numbers like that and have somebody reelected. So I felt that that was a race the Republicans should have quite easily won. At the same time, I always felt it was going to be a very close, very tough race, and probably with the advantage going to the incumbent, because history says the advantage goes to the incumbent. But it was a shame. Yes, sir.
Mr. Trump, Michael Pelka from The Blaze. Considering that you have some of the greatest golf courses in the country and now in the world, and the president loves to play golf, don't you think he would benefit from a round of golf with you to talk about business? That's 4 hours. You get him isolated.
But, you know, I've said that, and I actually stick up for the president on the golf, because I think, you know, I know a lot about golf, and I get it very well. And I won many club championships. I like playing golf. I understand golf. And I own 14 great clubs, and just built one in Scotland where they're saying it may be the greatest course in the world. The Doral is going to be great. You know, I actually think that the president, golf is a huge advantage to the president. The only thing is, and the only thing I would do differently, is that he should be playing with the speaker and the other people. Now, he did it once, but he should do it all the time. They will become unbelievable friends. I've made some of the best deals I've ever made have been made on the golf course. Some of the best deals, deals that I never would have made, big deals, important deals, you know, billion-dollar deals, big deals I made on the golf course. If I had lunch with those people, I would have never made those deals. So I actually am a fan of the president playing golf. I just think when he plays, he shouldn't play with his local group of friends. He should play with people that are frankly on the other side. And they will gain probably, sometimes you gain tremendous respect, sometimes you lose respect for people because you find out things about people on the golf course that you don't want to know. Do they move that little ball? You know, what's going on, right? I mean, the foot wedge, yeah, the old foot wedge. But I think I'm a big fan of the president's playing golf. I just think that he should play with people that he's dealing with because there's a real chance they could do something if they got to know each other in that capacity. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Adam Perino, Washington Free Beacon. The president's going to Israel next week. I was curious if you have any advice for him on it before he goes.
No, I think it's about time that he goes. And I think it's good that he's going. I think it's great that he's going, actually. Okay? Yes.
Hi, Lauren Windsor with the Young Turks. You offered to fund the White House tours that were eliminated under sequestration.
Yes.
Which sequestration cuts would you enforce? Do you support all of them?
Well, there are many of them, and you're talking about, you know, so many of them. But that was one that just sort of got me, the White House tours. From the beginning of time, we were given tours of the White House. The people were given tours of the White House. And you're not talking about a tremendous amount of money. And it just seemed to resonate with me that that is something that should continue. So, I mean, my offer's out there. I would fund it for the full year. I told you, Newt Gingrich made the offer without my knowledge, but I liked it after he made the offer. I said, okay, I'll do it.
So, would you overturn the sequester entirely? Would you lift it, or do you support the same?
Well, I'd like to see them make a deal. No, I wouldn't overturn anything. I think they should make a deal. And you have other opportunities coming up. But I think the Republicans have been very generous. You know, they gave a very large tax increase. And I said, you know, they should have made that as part of the overall deal. This is called negotiating 101. They should have made that tax increase as part of the overall deal. Because as soon as they gave the tax increase, I said the next thing that's going to happen is the Democrats are going to ask for another tax increase. And that's what happened the following day. Well, they got what they wanted. And then the next day they said, well, now we want more. And I said, I knew that was going to happen. That's basic, like, 101 negotiating. Anyway, yes, go ahead.
Mr. Trump, Dana Lash, MS Communications. What do you think is the biggest obstacle for Republicans going forward? And what would you advise them to do to defend their House majority?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, the obstacle is that more and more people are maybe not thinking in terms of Republicans. They're going to have to get a leader that can energize. We don't have that. And they're going to have to get somebody that can really get people into the tent because the numbers are not looking good. And I actually think, depending on who runs for the Democrats, the next race could be a lot tougher than this race. And I do mean what I said before. If you allow the 11 million people to have voting privileges, I don't care if whoever it may be, you could say Marco Rubio, you could say Rand Paul, you could say whoever it is, if they want to lead the charge to get those people citizenship and voting rights, they won't get one vote. They're not going to get one vote. So they've got to be very careful. I also say do what's right. You have to do what's right. First of all, you have to do what's right. But they're not going to get one vote. So they have to be very careful. But they need great leadership. They need somebody to energize. And right now, we haven't seen that person. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Jackie Coppell, the Tea Party Report. Where do you stand on universal background checks?
Well, I feel very strongly, I'm pro-gun person. You know, I know one thing, the bad guys have them. Okay? When the bad guys have them, the good guys have to have them too, unfortunately. That's the way it is. I think some form of background check is a good thing. Absolutely. If somebody's crazy, if somebody's a total whack job, I don't like them having possession of certainly with any kind of thing. But I do believe in background checks, but I also believe strongly in the Second Amendment. Strongly, very strongly. And I think you need, in terms of protection and for other reasons, I think you need to have the ability to have guns.
And the assault weapons ban? How do you feel about that?
You know, again, it's very simple. The bad guys have them. If the bad guys have them, the good guys have to have them. It's a very simple thing. You know, we're not talking about rocket science. It's amazing to me because I have friends that are very smart and they're on the other side of this issue. And they'd like to take all the guns away. I say, well, what happens when the bad guys don't give up their guns, but all the good, you know, the good ones, if they say, okay, you can't, but, well, the people in this room, a lot of you are media, so many of you are the bad guys, you know. The people in this room, they're going to give up their gun. Now the wrong people walk into the house, they're loaded up, and there's no form of protection. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So I'm very pro-gun, very. And NRA. My sons are actually members of the NRA. They have been for a long time. Yes.
Jim Solomon from Politico.
Yes.
Last week you called Ashley Judd a great candidate.
Well, I didn't say great. Yeah.
So you kind of were criticizing the role of Congress. Mitch McConnell's here. Are there Democrats?
I like Mitch McConnell. I think what Karl Rove did to Mitch McConnell is a disaster. I know Ashley Judd, and she will be a good candidate. She's an attractive person. She's a celebrity. That helps, you know. We find that out. I mean, people can get elected as a celebrity. We've seen that many times. Oftentimes doesn't work out very well, but these are minor details. But Ashley Judd will be, I think, a good candidate as soon as she runs. But she wasn't really a candidate. Karl Rove took the stupidest ad. He made an ad that was so bad. First of all, it took her, I've never seen her look more beautiful. She talked about the president as being brilliant. She made speeches. And then they said, don't let her vote because she comes from another state or something, you know, whatever. But by the time that commercial ended, everybody said, wow, she's really a hot candidate. She's great. What a stupid commercial. This is the same mind that spent $400 million and didn't win a race. But when you look at some of the ads he made, they're horrible. They're horrible. But the Ashley Judd ad, she wasn't thinking too much in terms of running. I mean, just her name would pop up every once in a while. But all of a sudden, she became this phoenix because he did an ad campaign about Ashley Judd. I'll tell you what, I think he's the most overrated man in politics. Okay, yes?
Mr. Trump, Andrew Vargas, director of the motion picture Hating Breitbart, coming out in May.
You didn't make those ads for Karl Rove, did you?
No, I didn't.
I didn't think so. Why didn't I think so? Okay, go ahead.
I want to know if you think that Anthony Weiner is going to run for mayor of New York, and if he would, might you join against him?
Well, he's a pervert. I mean, the guy's a whack job pervert. Now, obviously in politics, that doesn't necessarily deter you in this country. But he's a, you know, it's funny, I was doing a show, Piers Morgan, and Anthony Weiner was on the show. And he said, would you call in? And Anthony Weiner was in. And I saw Anthony Weiner 2 weeks before. He wanted campaign contributions because he was going to, this is before we found out the real Anthony Weiner when he pressed the wrong button on his hand. Can you imagine the shock of him when he realized, oh my God, I've sent this out to the world? He tried to bring it back very quickly. It didn't work out so well. But no, I can't believe that Anthony Weiner has a future in politics. The guy is a sick pervert, and we need good people. We need good people. What, do you think he's going to change? He's not going to change. He's always going to have that, and we don't need that.
If he runs, would you run against him?
No, I wouldn't run against him. I'm not looking to run for mayor. I actually like the mayor we have right now, very much, Mike Bloomberg. Yes?
Nick Battlesea with the Daily Caller. Bill Gates was recently here in Washington, and he compared the U.S. political system to the U.K., saying he wishes on some days the U.S. were more like the U.K.'s system, so Obama would have more power to avoid the deadlock in Congress. What do you think about it?
Well, look, we have our system. It's been a good system. It's right now very broken. You know, you look at the Pope, where they were in there for 24 hours, and they came out with a winner. It was like you're in there. You're in the room, and all of a sudden the white smoke starts pouring out. Maybe you just do that. You lock them in the halls of Congress. You lock them up for a little while and just say, get something done. But it's amazing that they can't come out with something. But this is our system. It's never worked as badly as it does right now, but nevertheless, this is our system. Yes, sir.
Mr. Trump, Joe Pollak, We're coming up against a debt ceiling again in a couple of months. Should Republicans be waiting for default on it?
Well, I thought that, frankly, they should have made a deal originally with the debt ceiling, and I thought they had all the cards. And I really think that something very strange is going to happen with the debt ceiling. I think that Obama is going to call out his constitutional rights, or as he sees them, even though he's been advised that he doesn't have those rights. The debt ceiling is a very powerful weapon, but I thought it was more powerful before than it is now. But certainly it's a very powerful weapon. I just think that Obama is going to override it. I've been predicting that for a long time. And you know what, in 6 years maybe they'll find out he didn't have the right to do it, but in the meantime he'll be playing golf, perhaps a Trump National on the Potomac.
Would you encourage Republicans to put that on the table?
Oh, I think they should play the debt ceiling card. That's a very powerful card. Absolutely. That's the thing that bothers me about the Republicans. They have so much power. They have so much negotiating, and that they don't seem to be doing it. It amazes me. They have so, you know, you have 1/3 of the picture. Fairly strongly. Actually, the stronger you are, the stronger the speaker's going to be. You understand, because there's a group in there that just wants to either get it done or not get it done at all. But the Republicans have so much power, but they don't seem to realize it. And every day that goes by, their power dissipates, and that's a bad thing. Yes, sir.
Again, Rick and Weiner, One American News Network in the Washington Times. I've noticed CPAC making an effort to reach out to those with ethnic diversity, younger age demographic, long overdue, in my opinion. What is your advice for the Republican Party to reaching out to those communities?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, I think it's something that you're going to have to do. I think CPAC has done, I think Al and the whole group have done an amazing job. They've really made this an important conference. And I really enjoyed being here. There was a very friendly crowd, and they liked a lot of what I said. I think they liked almost everything of what I said. But what am I saying? I'm saying let's make this country great again. Very simple message. Yes?
Mr. Trump, Lauren Winter, again with the Unders. You just advocated using the debt ceiling against...
No, to make a deal. No.
To make a deal.
To make a deal. I don't want to use the debt ceiling. I want to use the debt ceiling to make a deal so that we can straighten out this country, which is a total mess. We can straighten out this country, and we can all go back to work. And we can take jobs away from China and Brazil and places that you never even heard of that are making our products.
Understandably. But the debt ceiling only pays for things that have already been approved budgetarily. So by using the debt ceiling, it's effectively saying that we will not pay for things that we've already
I'm just saying it's
authorized.
a negotiating point. It's a very powerful negotiating tool.
But so you would pay
And they haven't used it really. They haven't used it with great power.
But you would pay for expenses that we've already
I would use the debt ceiling to negotiate a big deal and a proper deal so the country could get back on track.
So you would
Yes,
not...
sir. Go ahead.
Sorry. Alex with Politico again. Senator Rob Portman just came out in support of gay marriage. What's your position on gay marriage, and how should Republicans...
Well, I'm not in favor, but I understand his position. Many people are in favor, and his son just had something happen that Rob found out about. And, you know, I respect his position very much. You know, I disagree with his position, but I respect it very greatly. Yes, sir. Norway.
Yeah.
I have a couple more questions, and then I'll go back to I don't even know where I'm going. One of my many jobs.
You talked about Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid, that Republicans, and my impression was that you thought that Republicans shouldn't talk that much about cutting it because it's a losing proposition.
Oh, I think the Republicans have a huge disadvantage. And I happen to like Paul Ryan a lot. But I was a little surprised when he was chosen to run as vice president, because the first thing I think of when I think of Paul Ryan is the cutting of Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. It's very simple. And I think that there are a lot of people that are Republicans that went into that voting booth and said, you know what? I love these guys, but there's no way my Medicare is being cut. There's no way they're going to tamper with what I've got coming to me. And I really think it put the Republicans at a tremendous disadvantage. I like Paul Ryan a lot, but I thought it put the Republicans at a tremendous disadvantage. And I think a lot of people voted for Obama that otherwise would not have voted for Obama. And all I'm doing is saying, if we could make this economy a great engine again, like it was, hasn't been for years, but it was, all of those problems would take care of themselves. You understand? Yes.
Lieutenant Roosevelt at Daily again. Touching back to the immigration issue, when you mentioned about Europeans having a difficult time getting here. Do you believe that the United States is not bringing enough first world immigration and too much third world immigration?
I'm not going to say anything about that. All I'm telling you is that if you come from Europe, if you come from various parts of Asia, you can't get into this country. You can't get in. I have people, the most powerful people in Europe call me because they think I have power. They say, could you get my son a green card? It's almost impossible. It's really tough. And yet you have people that, walk into this country and they stay. And the amazing thing with the Europeans and the Asians, when they get that card and when it expires, they go home. They go home. The other ones stay, and then they stay long enough, and all of a sudden they're here for a long time, and we say, let's make them citizens, and the Democrats love it because everyone's going to vote for the Democrats. Okay, how about one more question, two more questions? Go ahead.
If President Obama and Speaker Weiner were competing on the season now, who do you think would win?
Well, look, I don't want to get into that. That's a nasty because I know they're both fine, right? They both come from different sides of the planet. They're both fine. And, I'm sure they'd both like to see a deal worked out, but they really are way off.
On a more serious note, what grade would you give Speaker Weiner in terms of a negotiator?
Well, I know him well. I like him a lot. I know he's got a lot of different factions, and it's not an easy job. But I think he's doing okay. I think he could negotiate maybe tougher with the Democrats, but he's got constituencies that's not an easy thing for him. So I would give him a B, and hopefully raising it up to an A at some point in the future, because he's got some great opportunities, whether it's the debt ceiling or other things. He's got some great, powerful chips right now on the table. And I just think he's a good man. I know him very well, and he's a very good man. It's not an easy job. But I do think that they can negotiate tougher, a lot tougher. Okay?
You mentioned that reviving the GOP is going to be more difficult than turning the economy around.
All it takes is one person. If you get the right person, your GOP is revived. Okay, it's revived.
What does that person need to do?
Well, that person has to have something that's very special. Has to have a special quality. And if that person has a special quality, and if that person goes out and says the right things and means it, and is able to convince people that he or she can turn this country around, the Republican Party will be revived.
Finally, what are your thoughts on the exclusion of people like Governor Christie and Governor McDonnell?
Well, Governor McDonnell is right upstairs making a speech at Faith and Freedom. So, I mean, he's here in a forum. And so I don't know that he was excluded at all. I'm sure Chris will be here next year. Chris is a very good friend of mine. And I have a lot of property in New Jersey. Chris has done a very good job. He's a very good friend of mine. I'm sure he'll be here next year. Okay? Okay, one final. Go ahead.
Thank you.
I like these questions. They were very quirky.
You have a rare ability to break through the media, the biased media, the liberal media, and get your message out to the masses. What is it about you that makes you different than the politicians we see on the Republican side that you're able to communicate so effectively?
Well, I don't think I do. I mean, to be honest, I think the liberal media kills me. I mean, I think they really go after me more than anybody else I can think of. And that's why I said, my file statements, over $8 billion, tremendous jobs. I employed tens of thousands of people, and over the years I've employed tens of thousands of people. I've done a good job from the standpoint of creating something very special. And Doral is a case of it. I just bought it. It's going to be great. In another year, it'll be beautiful. It wasn't properly run. Now it's going to be properly run. The country has to be properly run. But I'm not sure that I'm the great spokesman from that standpoint, because the liberal media truly hates Donald Trump. They go after me pretty strongly.
Well, you do a great job.
Well, I appreciate the statement. Look, I love the country. I'd love to see the country be great again. Right now, we're going in the absolute opposite direction. It's a big problem. Thank you very much, everyone. I really enjoyed being here. Thank you. Thank you.
Have I been hypnotized to believe in lies with the monologue, questioning God like Habakkuk, cause the odds keep stacking up? Where is the illumination for the human nation?